3, 2, 1.
And now, you're tuned into the Navarro-Miller Report, featuring the hottest in news, entertainment, sports, and all those topics for the mainstream audience. The Navarro-Miller Report.
Examine your reality.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Navarro-Miller Report. I'm your host, Dave Navarro.
And I'm Jeremy Miller.
And Jeremy, it's our 50th episode.
Oh, dear Lord.
50 episodes of having enjoying
Putting up with you? Yes.
Enjoying your company is what I was going to say.
You know, you make out like you don't love me, but you call all the time.
I don't know what you're talking about. I have no recollection of these alleged phone calls that you speak of at all ever in life. Anyways, want to welcome everybody to the stream. Thank you so much for joining us on our 50th episode. It's been a great ride. I mean, obviously, Jeremy, you and I have done a different podcast before this one. But this one, I got to tell you, 50 episodes, it's been a good ride. I mean, regardless of all the crap we talk about each other, I've actually enjoyed it. I've enjoyed interacting with our guests, interacting with our audience. That's always been fun to me, man.
Absolutely. Not that I didn't enjoy the other thing we were doing, but I really love this format. I love the fans who've been watching and following and interacting with us. And yeah, you haven't been so bad yourself. So,
yeah, cool. I appreciate the love.
It's about as far as I'm going to go.
Nice. I wouldn't have expected anything more from you, so we're good with that. Well, as we continue on, as we continue our tradition of having our show here and everything, we usually do TikTok blind reacts, but I've decided to, I felt bad. We were leaving Instagram behind. Instagram's got a lot of really good videos to show, and a couple of these videos that we have, I'll go ahead and let you know which ones are from Instagram, which ones are from TikTok at the end of the video. But this first one that I decided to do, talk about irony of ironies. When you watch this, check it out.
I'm supposed to be on the same team. Lost another one.
I'm sorry. I saw this and I was like, oh, I gotta put this one in.
And that's too funny. Even my cop buddies would laugh their butts off at that one.
Dude, a cop chasing a pig.
That's too good.
I mean, irony of ironies right there. Much respect to the blue. I'll just say that right now. But I mean, come on, you just couldn't help it.
No, that one's too good. That's too like you said, the timing is too perfect, too ironic.
Dude, it was just funny though. The pig's going by, and then right behind him, the cop. It's like, dude, come back. Oh, Lord. This other one, actually, that one's from TikTok. So I presented that one from TikTok. These two other ones are actually from Instagram. This one in particular, this is what happens when people they listen to someone else's phone call. And this is just a very strange phone call. I mean, what would you do if you heard something like this?
What was the cool?
Oh, I'm sorry. That's the wrong one. I got the wrong one on that one. This one's the one with the phone call. Here we go.
My gynecologist was checking me out, but he's honestly hot. Should I go? I mean, I'm down, he's already kind of seen it all. Yeah, no, I know. I was thinking I could go back there right now though. I'm like, should I just get his digits? Or is that weird? I mean, technically I already have his number, but the receptionist will answer, so.
I mean,
hey, more power to her. I don't know.
The guy next to her is like, really? You're gynecologist? Like, really? You're gynecologist?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure if she does pursue that, she'll have to find a different gynecologist. I think there's some sort of
conflict of interest.
HIPAA rules, conflict of interest thing going on there. But
Hey Jeff, how you doing? Welcome to the stream, man.
hey, Jeff, I don't know many women who would think of hitting up their gynecologist for his digits, but hey, more power to her.
Dude, seriously, like I don't know, ladies, how many of you watching would actually date your gynecologist? You know,
How hot would he have to be,
like seriously? I mean,
for you to actually pursue that?
I mean, it's honestly, it's like it's kind of a catch-22 in a sense if you date a gynecologist, because if you think about it, you know, it would be a good thing because he knows how to work his way around that area. But again, it would be a bad thing because at the same time, how many of that area has he seen?
Well, yeah, that's again, I don't know a lot of women who'd be comfortable with a gynecologist. I mean, the guy spends his days inspecting, other women.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, it's
I don't know a lot of women that would be comfortable with that.
Carl, you gotta love this comment.
Carl, that's brilliant.
You gotta love that comment. Thank you, Carl, for that one. Appreciate you for that one. Deborah on Facebook is saying, I almost kicked my first gynecologist in the face. How? Oh my God. Were you dating him at the time, though? That's the question.
Big caveat there.
Oh Lord, you gotta love our audience. This next one actually has to do with basically the cool, like just some of the cool things that you've heard your parents say in the past. This person actually asked that exact question. Here you go.
What was the coolest rule that your parents gave you growing up?
If we did our chores and we didn't talk back and we basically did everything right, then we didn't get our ass beat.
For the most part, that's actually a really cool thing that that was the coolest thing that my parents actually told me many times.
I like the tell me you're 40 without telling me you're over 40 thing.
Yeah,
that's my childhood. You didn't get rewarded for doing what you were supposed to do.
Yeah, my childhood was like, you didn't get rewarded, you're just lucky you're alive. It's like, I brought you here. That's your reward.
The extent of that for me was my mom did the old gold star chart for chores when we were really young. And if you did all your chores and you got a little star in each, little category, then she would take us by Baskin Robbins, at the end of the week or something like that. But that was about the extent of it.
My mom tricked me. She would go ahead and be like, if you do this, I promise you'll get ice cream. Never got ice cream. Never got it. My mom, she was a trickster with that one. I was like, what about the ice creams? Like, oh yeah, I forgot about it. I'll give it to you tomorrow. By tomorrow, I forgot about it already.
Of course.
She did that every time. I'm like, dude, seriously. When I got older, I started catching on. And I was like, hold on a second. Oh, wait one darn minute. All right.
So what, 17, 18?
I hate you. 50 episodes later, and I still hate you. Moving on to some strange and outlandish news. Thanks again, everybody, for joining us on our 50th episode of the Navarro-Miller Report. Thank you so much for being on here and joining us. Jeremy, this is actually a pretty outlandish news that's going on right now. Man kills scammer after finishes dinner afterward. What happened there?
Yeah, so we have a Texas man who's accused of fatally shooting a fake parking attendant.
Oh, this wasn't in Florida?
No, this was in Texas.
Ah, cool.
Somebody shooting and running after and killing someone who wronged them is a very Texas thing to do.
Yeah, so weapons are legal down there, so
practically anything. So Eric Aguirre, 29, went to downtown Houston to meet up with a woman. They arrived in separate cars. They parked, and as they parked, they were approached by a man in the parking lot who said you had to pay $20 to park there, but if you showed the receipt from the restaurant, you get the $20 back at the end of the night. So the man forked out $40. They went inside to get their table, and apparently at that time, someone informed him that the man did not work for the restaurant. He is seen on video cameras, surveillance cameras, running out to his car, grabbing his gun, chasing the man down, and shooting him in the chest. He then leaves him in the street, bleeding with a gunshot wound to the torso, goes back into the restaurant and finishes his date. Here's the kicker. His date turned him in.
Oh my God.
He
Wow.
claimed all he did was run out there and scare the guy. But when she heard about someone being found shot and someone matching her date's description being the one who ran after him, the date is the one who turned him in.
So far as bad dates go,
I think that's right up there at the top.
It's so funny because when you were talking about this, first thing that came to mind was Back to the Future 3. Shot in the back by Buford Tanner over a matter of $80.
Well, and that's the part that kills me. I mean, seriously, people, it's $40. I mean, yeah, I've been hurting and where $40 would really hurt me too to lose that. But you're going to go chase someone down and take their life over $40. Are you serious?
Come on, $40. That's in this day and age, $40 is nothing. I mean, but then again, it's Texas, so they'll just pretty much use any excuse to use a gun.
Well, so. I mean, it can be. I mean, I'm sorry, Texas is a gun loving. I'm not ragging on you guys, but it's a gun loving place. I got lots of family down there. Everybody's got a gun. Kind of throws. I won't get into the political side of it, but it's just I don't get. I mean, like I said, $40 can be huge. I mean, that's a tank of gas to get to work and take your kids, take care of your kids for the week. I mean, that's a big deal to a lot of people who are struggling. So I'm not going to say $40 is nothing.
Gas nowadays.
Oh, I know. It's just $40. There can be times where $40 feels like the end of the world, but it's not worth somebody's life or yours. It's just insane.
But I mean, if the guy's already given the guy $40 and parking's $20, he's already given him a pretty fat tip.
Parking was 2 cars.
Oh, it's 2 cars.
It was 2 cars. So he gave him 20 for the girl's car he was meeting and 20 for his.
Oh, that's so sweet. And she turned him in. Looks like the date was gonna go well.
He was a gentlemanly murderer.
Yeah, right. He was. Yeah, exactly. Oh, Carl. Why, Carl? Why? Carl stay conjugal visits? What, Carl? I swear this.
I don't know. I'm not sure that's a relationship that's getting off the ground, considering she turned him in.
Pretty much. I mean, I don't think that date went the way he planned at all, ever. So, oh my God. In other outlandish news, Madam Stylist, what's going on? What's happening?
So we got an interesting one up in Washington County. A Washington County hairstylist is facing prostitution charges after state police busted her for allegedly performing sexual acts on her clients.
Florida, you're being left behind.
Yeah, I mean, Florida, you got to catch up here. We got some interesting challengers here. So basically, it was brought to the authorities' attention after a man had sent his wife to this hair salon to get her hair done. And apparently they butchered his wife's hair. These people do not know how to cut hair. So he was suspicious. And he started paying attention.
Come on.
And apparently at a hair salon, only men were coming and going all hours of the day. And none of them were leaving with haircuts.
Well, not that we could see at least.
I left that open for you. Thank you for picking that up.
Thanks, no problem.
So she was running a full-blown prostitution ring out of her hair salon. It doesn't say if she had any girls working for her. It's very possible she was servicing every one of these clients. So she's facing a lot of charges. They sent in an undercover officer who she apparently propositioned within moments of him coming in the door. She then locked the door, pulled the blinds down, and he then revealed himself as an officer, and she was placed under arrest.
Well, folks, you've heard of the champagne room. Check out the shampoo room. All right.
So, the interesting thing is, this is actually, at least back when I first started going to China, not when I first started going, but maybe 15 years ago or so, when I went back to China, I was working with a shady producer out there. I didn't know he was shady at the time. He pointed out as we were walking around barber shops. And I'm not kidding. They were set up like barbershops. I mean, you have mirrors and chairs and the whole 9 yards. Yet the only people in there were 20-year-old women wearing bathrobes. And you could see the mattresses in the back on the floor.
For educational purposes, where exactly was this at?
You dirty dog. No, this was in China, in Shanghai.
My hair's getting long. I need a haircut. What can I say?
Apparently that was actually very common out there in Asia, and they were called salons, and it's a total front. So this is not unheard of, but yeah, she wasn't covering her bases very well. I mean, these guys are leaving with no haircuts. It's only men coming to a hair salon. This was not a barbershop. This was a hair salon, and yet it's a clientele of only guys. So
come on, people, get it together. At least
step up your game.
Yeah, at the very least, hire people that know how to like cut hair or something to, kind of keep, or at least have your clients. They're making enough money, obviously. Have your clients go to freaking beauty school and learn how to cut hair, and come on, that we don't get caught. Not that we're endorsing any illegal activities here on the Navarro-Miller Report. Wanted to go ahead and put that out there right now. I just want to go ahead and put that disclosure out there, or disclaimer out there, before anything else. Wow, that is it. Just it just reminds me of the league. I'm sorry, it's an inside joke between myself and Jeremy.
Folks, if you haven't checked it out, if you're a fan of sports at all and just good buddy comedies, there's a show called The League that is absolutely hysterical. Trust me, check it out. You'll thank us.
What did the character Taco call it? Puber cuts or something like that?
Yeah, puber cuts.
Puber cuts, yeah.
He's taking his van around and doing pubic styling and trimming.
For men and women. The taco special.
I don't want to go to D-Hab.
Oh, God.
Anyway, sorry, folks. We're getting on a tangent here.
We're losing audience members. Like, what the hell are they talking about? Okay, we're changing the channel right now. Anyways, thank you for staying with us. Wow. Well, that's gonna be we're cutting that off. Get it? Anyways, in entertainment news, the Red Table Talk has come to an end because Facebook is actually cutting their Meta. They are shutting down the Facebook Watch. Actually, Meta announced that, and along with the Facebook Watch, they had shows like Red Table Talk, that was hosted by Jada Pinkett Smith. But one person who will not be missing that show is Nick Cannon. Cannon has a brand new show on Amazon. I think it's called Amazon Radio or something like that. That he has called The Daily Cannon. And in the show, he pretty much expressed how he really was not going to miss it. He went ahead to say, quote, if there was no basically, before I get into that, basically he blames Red Table Talk for Will Smith going off the way he did because of that episode that both Jada and Will pretty much put their dirty laundry out for the public to listen to, and talked about their indiscretions, whatever. And Nick Cannon went ahead and said, quote, if there was no Red Table Talk, then he would have slapped the shit out of Chris Rock. That was royalty, Will and Jada. Then they brought it to the Table Talk. I don't want to know all this shit about y'all. Basically, he's blaming that episode for Will's reaction at the Oscars, slapping Chris Rock on national television for millions to see. He's blaming that pretty much what happened in Red Table Talk was what pretty much fueled the fire in Will Smith, and Chris Rock's comment about Jada's hair was the match that sparked the rest. So
it's logical to assume that. I mean, it seems that way. I mean, it truthfully was the beginning, having all this dirty laundry aired, making Will look weak or whatever else for putting up with that and her cheating and all this other stuff. But again, they chose to put their dirty laundry out there. I mean, is this a show I would have watched? No, I'm not interested in the drama and the gossip and all that kind of stuff. But people chose to go on this. They know what the format is. They know they're going to be getting asked uncomfortable questions that, may put some stuff out there they don't want. I wouldn't do it, and I certainly wouldn't be interested in watching it. So I'm not going to miss it. And personally, I think that's unless you're confronting those things in a healthy way and looking for solutions, there's no point in that being on television. It's just the lowest common denominator of TV.
My question is, who advised Jada, or if this was Jada's idea to put their dirty laundry out there like that to begin with? I mean, I don't think they had low views. Unless somebody said, hey, your views are going down, we need to spice this up a little bit, make it a little bit more interesting by putting your private stuff out there. Since it's already out in the news, might as well put it out there for everybody to see. I mean, whose genius idea was this to go ahead and do that? Because at the end of the day, celebrities are consistently complaining about their privacy being, out there, and how they want their privacy to remain private. But yet, you go ahead
and they're constantly out going to great lengths to protect that privacy. So, yeah, you're dead on with this, because this is a PR nightmare. Any publicist or manager, if they had run this by them beforehand, any publicist or manager worth their salt would have said, do not do this. Do not air this out. Do not put this on there. This is a PR nightmare. And they went ahead and did it. So I don't know what advice they got, who told them this was a good idea. If they just thought it was, I have no idea whether they were trying to humanize themselves by showing their issues. I have no idea what their thought process was, but it's one of the dumbest ideas I could possibly imagine, putting this much embarrassing dirty laundry out there, willingly.
And as much as Will personifies this very alpha male-esque type of character in pretty much all his movies and stuff like that, Will Smith, the person, he should have actually embraced those characters and said, hey, this isn't a good idea. Like, I do not want to go ahead and do this in front of everybody. So that makes me think that maybe Jada was the one that had the idea to do this.
It's possible, but it's also, it's on both of them. It's a horrible idea on her part as well. It is. It's just an absolutely awful idea to air all this out, for everybody to see. That's just all there is to it. So, and again, unless they were doing it in a way that was trying to be constructive and work through all this and deal with it in a healthy way, which it doesn't sound like that's what came out of it, or that's what they were doing. I don't know where they got the advice to make this happen, but they should have run this by somebody who knows, what they're doing, because they would have told them absolutely not. Do not address this.
And I highly doubt a marriage counselor would have advised them to do this too.
Absolutely not. I know some good marriage counselors, some people who really have helped a lot of people, and I guarantee they would have said, absolutely not. This is something you guys work on in private. You do not want everyone else involved in this.
And like Nick said, we don't want to hear this. Dude,
who wanted to know this? Really? Who wanted to know about this?
Well, let me give you an example. Vanderpump Rules. I've been watching the whole scandal, every freaking social media outlet, everything's out there, and I'm like, dude, this is just to bump ratings of Vanderpump Rules. That's all this is happening. I don't care if during the show he was hinting that he was cheating on blah blah blah. I don't care. I don't care. It's done. Everybody cheats. Well, not everybody. Most people most relationships, there's always somebody that cheats. I don't care. This is something that they have to go ahead and figure out on their own. They have to go ahead and talk with them in private. Granted, they're in front of the camera. Granted, they have their lives plastered all over the place. Mm-hmm. But do we really need to keep on talking about this single
It's the problem is that's what gets the ratings. We have so many people that are just complete gossip hounds. It used to be relegated to the gossip sheets. That's really the only place you heard about this, but this is what drives ratings now. That's one of the reasons why I won't click on articles that are talking about this drama. If I'm scrolling through stuff, looking through news just for things I want to read, if I see something that starts with this celebrity person and this person, I don't even read it. I literally won't even click on it. I don't want to hear about your BS drama, your relationship drama. I don't care.
Yeah, but you hear about, here's the thing though, that before you heard about this for about, 2 or 3 days, and then it was done. We move on. This whole freaking Vanderpump, the Scandal thing has been going on for 3 weeks now. It's driving me insane. I see like a brand new story every week about this.
Well, again, it's like you said, most likely something that they leaned into because they know it's helping push ratings up and whatever else.
And
if they wanted it to go away, it would.
And come on. It's like every other week. Oh, we just found out about something else that was. No, you didn't. You've been holding on to this for that, and so that every week you could go ahead and feed just a little bit more out of something. You knew about this for weeks already. You're just like cutting it into little pieces and spoon feeding little bits of it every single freaking week. It's annoying. It's like, dude, stop. These people, like, seriously, this is stupid. I almost want to think, I mean, I hate to think this, but I almost think that this is all pre-planned, scheduled, and scripted, that all of this happened.
Who knows? Probably. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I know a lot of these reality shows, I mean, at the very least, they have ideas in which way they're going to push it. They have ideas of certain scandals that have already happened. That's why I don't pay attention to this stuff. I do not watch the reality shows. I don't watch the Real Housewives, the Real Husbands, I don't care. I will not watch any of that stuff. It does not interest me.
I mean, the only actual silver lining is that they kind of, stopped talking a lot about the Kardashians. Silver lining I see about that is like, wow, we get a break from the Kardashians. Let's move on to Vanderpump. Jesus criminy. Okay. Enough of my rant for the day on that. I've been wanting to get that off my chest for a few days now, so I finally got a chance to do it. Either way, Red Table Talk has been canceled. Nick Cannon, you got to go ahead and hand it to him. He didn't sugarcoat it. He pretty much said what he felt about that. And you know what? And Derek, thank you. I agree with that. Growing Pains, one of our audience members, saying Growing Pains was more real than any reality show.
Thank you, Derek. Appreciate that.
Yes, most definitely. I mean, I have to disagree, but whatever. Moving on to some other entertainment news. Marvel's Blade reboot will reunite True Detective creator with Mahershala Ali. This coming from IGN.com. It says, quote, Marvel's Blade just added another writer to its crew. Nick Pizzolatto, known for his work as the creator of True Detective, has joined the upcoming MCU film as a writer, according to The Hollywood Reporter. The addition reunites Pizzolatto and Blade star Mahershala Ali as they work together on season 3 of HBO's acclaimed crime anthology series. IGN has reached out to Disney and Pizzolatto's reps for comment. Pizzolatto will be working off of a script by Michael Starbury, who previously scored an Emmy nomination for his work on an episode of When They See Us. Pizzolatto has reportedly been working on Blade's script for a few weeks now. Here's okay, I'm glad they're making a reboot of Blade. I'm kind of curious. Well, I'm not glad, really. I'm kind of curious to see how they're going to do this, because the first one was cool. The first movie was cool. The second one was cool. They started losing me towards the third one. And then they created a TV show on what used to be the TNN network, the National Network. Then they went into TBS, et cetera, et cetera. I'm kind of mixed about this whole reboot with Blade. I mean, I know that the Marvel Universe is starting to gain momentum. And there's a lot of characters that, Ghost Rider is one of the characters that they kind of introduced in Marvel's Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. a little bit with a brand new character. They rebooted Ghost Rider a little bit. I don't know about Blade. I don't know how that's going to work out.
I think it all depends on how they go about it. I disagree with you in that I only thought the first movie was worthwhile. As far as I was concerned, the second and third were just trash. I did not enjoy them at all. But Blade is such an intricate character. he's got so much depth. There's so many different things you can do with that character and that storyline that I'm actually really curious to see what direction they go with it. As fun as the Wesley Snipes original Blade was, and I love Stephen Dorff, who played the bad guy in that. Stephen and I go way, way back. His dad wrote the Growing Pains theme song. I love the guy, and I've always loved his performances. But it was very much a film of its time. It was a little more gimmicky. It was a little more action film rather than, they didn't explore a lot of the darker aspects of it. And I think that's something they could do now, years later. Those things are just much more common now in superhero films. You can really delve into some of that. So I think Blade's a fun character to revisit. I hope they do it justice.
I do too. Honestly, I don't, in my opinion, I don't think that they should have made a reboot about Blade. What I think they should have done is, like every other Marvel character, reintroduce him into one of the other Marvel movies. Like, for example, if I don't know, if one of the Marvel action heroes was needing to find some dark magic, or needed to find vampire blood or something like that, they should have been like, well, I know a guy that can do it.
You could, but
introduce them that way.
In the Blade comic books, as far as I know, I didn't read them all. Blade was one of their few that didn't do a ton of crossovers. As far as that's what I've been told by friends of mine who were fans of Blade. They didn't do a lot of crossovers, if any. So I don't know where the vampires and daywalkers and all that kind of stuff would fit into the classic MCU, to do a connection there. I mean, you could maybe introduce him in a brief scene or something, but I don't know how much you could really include Blade in a Marvel, Avengers film or anything else like that. I don't know how, I don't know how well he'd fit into the dynamic of those stories.
Well, I don't know. I just got a bad taste from the last two movies. I mean, I was giving part 2 a little bit of credit, and part 3, the only reason why part 3 made it a little bit interesting was because of Ryan Reynolds. He made it funnier in the movie, like he does exactly. So he made that movie a little bit tolerable. But having Jessica Biel, Triple H, all those people, it just, I don't know, it just didn't really, I didn't really get it. Like, I didn't really like, it didn't really interest me too much. Part 2 with the whole, vampires killing vampires thing, that kind of was a little gross. I really was like, yeah, it was kind of like a virus type of thing. I was kind of like, yeah, not really. It didn't really get me, So part 1, you can never go bad with part 1. Part 1 is actually a really good storyline. Again, Stephen Dorff did an incredible job playing the villain in that movie.
Deacon Frost.
Yeah, Deacon Frost. I mean, he did a great job with that movie. I actually really enjoyed the first one. Second one, the only reason why I watched the second one was because I wanted to know what happened to Whistler. Because I had a feeling Whistler was still alive. I mean, because they freaking like drank his blood, but I was like, they drank his blood, but that means that he's infected. He's a vampire. And we never really saw him kill himself with a gun. We never saw that. We just imagined that. So I'm like, I don't know. Why do I have a feeling Whistler's still alive? Because at that point he was already infected. He's a vampire at that point. Vampires are all about survival. They don't want to kill themselves. They want to feed and survive. And Whistler was already turned at that point. So that's what made me think Whistler's still alive. Sure enough, I was right. This is, again, writer's brain. That's the way I think sometimes. So yeah, but now with this reboot, I'm curious. I'm only curious to see how they're going to reboot this, because they had the TV show. It flopped. I think it only did like maybe 3 episodes before it said bye-bye, before it was canceled. And I saw 1 episode and I was like, yeah, not interested. Don't like it. It's done. Goodbye. So now I'm interested with this reboot. I'm curious to see exactly how they're going to do with this. We'll see what happens. Yeah. I have really little to say about that. And I'm saying this honestly, I'm morbidly curious
See, I'm actually kind of excited. I think if they do it the right way, it could be a really fun new take on Blade.
You didn't watch the other two Blades, did
Oh,
you?
I watched them and they were god awful. That's why I'm excited to see them go a different direction.
Maybe it might be good. I mean, we got Disney back in it. Marvel is has got a pretty good track record. We'll see how it goes. In other entertainment news, sad day this week in television. Jerry Springer passed away at the age of 79. After a brief illness, actually. The brief illness, from what we understand, according to sources with TMZ, they tell them that it was pancreatic cancer that was diagnosed a few months ago. Unfortunately, he passed away. And let me tell you, Jerry's a legend. Jerry was and will always be a legend in television. I mean, he went ahead and he ran for Congress, I believe, for a brief time. Then he became the mayor of Cincinnati, I believe.
I believe it was Cincinnati, yes.
Yep. And then that was just for one term, though. He only did one term. Then it was so funny because the Jerry Springer show was actually supposed to be a political show. And then it turned into this crazy, like, pop, type of, iconic television show that many people, even Austin Powers, even introduced him in there. So he did a lot of great, he was a legend in talk show history.
Well, I'm going to take a different view on that. Now, given it's always sad when someone passes away, I feel for his family, and the fact that he had to go from pancreatic cancer, which is a horrible way to go, is sad. But I will argue on the legend part, because honestly, what he's responsible for is the lowest form of television programming we've ever seen. And it spurred on all the shit that we see today. I don't think that's legendary. I think that's notorious. Okay. I'm sorry. That's it. I will admit that in my, early 20s, my party and drinking days with all my buddies and stuff like that, we watched all the time to see the chaos.
Yeah.
But if you look at what came out of that, it was the first absolute just shit show of a reality show where people turned in for no substance and no content just to see the absolute dregs of society humiliate themselves. That's the lowest form of programming there is in entertainment. I'm sorry. And that's what he was responsible for. Even he, in his later years, regretted doing the show. Even everything it brought him, all the fame, he regretted doing the show because of what it created and what it brought on. And I respect that he could at least look back and see the damage that he helped create. I'm not a huge fan. I think his legacy is very, it's not so, it's, I won't say tainted, but it's not so black and white. He was responsible in promoting that show and making it as big as he is and helping push it down the path that it went. He's responsible for a lot of the really crappy programming we see on television today. That's just sheer voyeurism. It's to me, it's not a good thing. And that's unfortunately the legacy he left, in the business for me. And even he recognized it. I mean, he gave many interviews later in life saying he really regretted doing the show. He was embarrassed by it.
I mean, do you think that possibly if he hadn't left politics, do you think, because the thing is, television's one thing, politics is another.
Oh, politics is even slimier, but
yeah, well, very true. Yeah, you're right about that. But I'm wondering if maybe his legacy was a little bit better, politically speaking.
Well, from what I heard, he was remembered fondly as the mayor of Cincinnati. When the show was early in its days, people often defended him by saying how beloved he was in Cincinnati. I could be wrong about that. I don't know what politics were like in the late 80s or early 90s, in Cincinnati. But if I recall correctly, he was rather well remembered. So yeah, if he hadn't have gotten into this show and had it go down the path, even if he had started this show and had kept on more of the political side, he could have been one of the biggest, political and news talk show hosts. He had that ability. He was a very smart man. But, you know, he saw a direction things were going. He saw popularity in something nobody had ever done before, and he went with it. And, you know, hey, that's the American way. He saw a way to make a lot of money really quick and get his show really popular. But, you know, he scraped the bottom of the barrel to get it done. And even he knew that.
Yeah, that is true. I'm not gonna go ahead and disagree with you on that, because I mean, but at the same time, in the same sense, you could say the same thing about shock jocks too.
You can, to a degree, especially with the direction it went. I mean, Howard Stern, of course, was the one who took it all to the next level. I mean,
so in a sense, we can't really blame Jerry for pretty much paving the way, because you have shock jocks like Howard Stern that are responsible for that as well.
In a way, but even then they kept it more interesting. I mean, they're not dragging family members in here to expose every horrible, I mean, as outlandish as Howard's stuff was, you know, he never had, yeah, I screwed my husband's, you know, daughter 4 times and got her pregnant. Who's the father? You know, I mean, I'm sorry. It was the absolute lowest form of programming. No, I mean, the shock jocks back in the day until Howard Stern were not that shocking. I mean, you had, you know, Mark and Brian on, you know, KLOS or whatever it was. Yeah. You had, oh God, I can't even remember all their names. Rick Dees in the morning. He wasn't really a shock jock. He started going that way when some of Jay Thomas and some of those others started going that way a little bit more. But they weren't, for the most part, they weren't scraping the bottom of the barrel for ideas. You know, it was stuff people were at least interested and curious about. It wasn't, here's a train wreck, come and watch. There is a difference there.
True. I mean, again, it's, I guess Jerry pretty much, I would have to say that Jerry was more of a shock host instead of a shock jock. Because he wasn't in radio, he was in television. So
it's a complicated legacy. It is. He definitely contributed some things that were good, but in the long run, if you look at everything that show brought us, I think it's a very complicated and not so flattering legacy.
True. And of course, as you said, he actually the Jerry Springer Show was had its final run a few years ago. Jerry actually he actually went into radio shortly after. He started hosting folk music shows in a local radio station in Cincinnati. Nice. So pretty much he was there up until about a month ago when he had to stop. Because of his health. He actually did make one last television appearance in the last season of The Masked Singer, where he performed as a Beatle singing a Frank Sinatra classic. So he did make one final appearance on television doing that. He will be, I mean, suffice to say, Jerry Springer will be remembered, and he will be missed by a lot of fans. So rest in peace, Mr. Jerry Springer. My condolences go out to his family and to the fans of Jerry Springer. In sports, the NFL draft is here. 2023 draft is here. And let me tell you, there was a lot of winners, a lot of losers in round one. One in particular was, Will Levi, who pretty much ESPN looked at as he was like 0.001 as far as the 1 in 1,000
that he wouldn't get drafted. I know. Here's the thing. He got I hate to bring up the name, but he got the Aaron Rodgers treatment. You know, I mean, Aaron Rodgers, this is the last top flight quarterback that we saw that just dropped and dropped and dropped. That's kind of what happened to him. Will's an interesting case. Will was a very successful quarterback until he transferred to Kentucky last year. Last year, his stats regressed an awful lot. His rushing touchdowns dropped. His yardage dropped. His interceptions went up a little bit. He was dealing with some health issues. He had a bum toe, which if you know anything about for a quarterback, especially a running quarterback, that's tough. You can't plant to make your throws. Getting that first step, that speedy first step to get the break and start running is really difficult. But all these things kind of came down on him last year. So I think that probably had a little something to do with it. There were quotes by two different unnamed sources of different teams that said the toe was a big concern for them, actually, and they were worried it wasn't completely healed. That was one of the reasons why they had passed on him. But this guy's got talent. I mean, he's got an arm. He's got the vision. His coaches and teammates speak very highly of his abilities. So I think we could be seeing another Aaron Rodgers type situation here where, he fell out of the first round. Yeah. Now, Aaron didn't. He got drafted at the end of the first round, but still, it's a late round. It's a late draft pick, a lot later than he was expecting.
Yeah, he got drafted. He got drafted today by Tennessee. So
no, I know.
Now.
And the Titans have been looking for a quarterback to be able to, kind of get them back into respectability. I think it's not a bad place for him to go. And if he really is healed, I think he could be a surprise. He could be one of those guys who 5 years from now we're going, you all were morons.
Yeah, it's possible. I mean, look at, the way he finished with the Wildcats, he finished 112th in points scored in 2022. So the guy has an arm. But what we're looking at as well is the fact of the matter that a lot of these teams, they're looking for the next Mahomes, a passer that could move around in the pocket, somebody like Lamar Jackson that could go ahead and just rush the ball if nobody else is open. That's what a lot of teams are looking for now. And unfortunately, Levi's not one of those quarterbacks. He's got an arm. Well, no, but he can't really move that much because of his toe.
If he's healthy, he can. He put up very good rushing numbers. He's one of those sneaky, quick rushing quarterbacks. Now, is he as physically gifted as a Lamar Jackson? No, he's not. But he put up good numbers. I mean, he was a guy who was putting up 800 to 1,000 rushing yards in his season before he transferred to Kentucky. I believe he put up 12 or 14. I think it was 12 rushing touchdowns. So, I mean, the guy can run. He has those abilities. And, again, we're just going to have to see how it plays out. But I got a feeling in 5 or 6 years, we're going to be having this discussion where, all the pundits are going, what the hell were you people thinking letting him drop this far?
Very, very true. Very true. And I mean, of course, the winners in this whole thing, I mean, you got the Texans who got CJ Stroud.
That's not even just CJ Stroud. I'm not as high on. CJ is a good quarterback. I want to see what he's going to do when he's not surrounded by the best 3 receivers in college football, but he's a very good quarterback. I'm not taking anything away, but of the quarterbacks in this draft, he's probably the one that I was the least high on. What really impressed me for the Texans was their next pick. I think it was CJ that they traded up to get.
Yeah, they traded with the Cardinals.
And then they had the 3rd round pick from another trade last year.
You got Anderson.
So getting Will Anderson is huge. That's the linebacker out of Alabama who is a beast. I mean, an absolute beast. And the Texans, I mean, this is the team that, J.J. Watt helped build, that their defense was just brutal for years. Last year, they actually had a historically bad defense. They gave up the 6th most rushing yards in a season all time. Okay, they were a historically bad defense. So getting a game-changing linebacker, the pick after you just got a guy who could be your franchise quarterback, they are absolute hands-down winners of the first round. Now, I want to see what they do in the 2nd and 3rd rounds today, but they absolutely killed it.
Well, I mean, the Texans were out for blood because they went ahead and yesterday they also traded with the Lions, moving up to a number 6 pick where they took Ohio State left tackle Paris Johnson Jr.
That's the one they traded, that Arizona traded.
Well, no, they got with Arizona, they got Anderson. Because according to this, it says the Cardinals, they got the 3rd pick from the Cardinals. And then they got the 6th pick from the Lions.
Right, but that 6th pick went to the Cardinals in the move up to the 3rd pick because the Cardinals took Paris Johnson with 6.
Oh, okay. Yeah, you're right. I'm sorry. Yeah, you're right. I'm sorry. You're right about that. And there was a lot of movement last night.
Well, there was. This was, well,
Well,
that's what happens with these kinds of drafts. I'm not saying these guys aren't amazing, but this was not one of those drafts where you had 15 or 20 guys that you were like, these are definitely the first round picks. These guys are gods, you know. I mean, you didn't really have that. There's a lot of parity. There are a lot of guys going on day 2 and day 3 that could have probably gone on day 1. So there was a lot of movement. Guys knew, you know, team managers, the GMs knew what they were looking for, what guys they thought fit, and they were willing to move. I mean, there was a lot of trading going on, draft picks and everything else, so people could try and get the guys they had targeted.
I mean, is it just me, or did it feel more like the teams were more looking for defense this year more often than offense as far as drafts went?
Well, it's been the trend in the draft the last few years. Defense has definitely been probably the highest taken. As we've seen, quarterbacks, especially game-changing quarterbacks, are still going to be at the top of the draft. We saw that with Bryce Young going in number 1 and CJ Stroud going number 2. But first round, it used to be you'd see tons of running backs, tons of quarterbacks, the occasional wide receiver, and then day 2 and day 3, you'd start seeing all the big O linemen and the defensive tackle. It's reversed now. You know, now everybody wants to shore up the trenches. They want to shore up their defensive line. They want to shore up their offensive line. So you're not seeing as many receivers and running backs and offensive skill positions going in the first round anymore. So, I mean, this first round was no different. Ton of cornerbacks, ton of defensive linemen, ton of offensive linemen, and then the quarterbacks right at the top. The one that really shocked me was I mean, everybody's been kind of down on the Lions, which is always easy to do. They don't ever draft very well. I mean, I'm sorry. It seems like every year we're talking about the Lions as one of the worst, you know, worst drafts. But they picked Jahmyr Gibbs, a running back out of Alabama, with the number 11 pick. That's absolutely insane to me. This is a guy they probably could have drafted in the second round. There weren't many other people that were high enough on this running back to draft him in the first round. The only like lock first round guy there was Bijan Robinson out of, I believe, out of Texas, who went number 8. I think he went to the Falcons. But anyway, he has been talked about by every GM as just a can't miss running back. And he was really the only one that most people thought would be an absolute first day pick. Yeah. So for the Lions to reach for a guy they probably could have gotten on day 2, and to take him with the 11th pick when there were still offensive tackles to help protect their quarterback and their running back they already have. I mean, they already have 2 or 3 really solid running backs. I mean, they're not game changers, but they're already, you know, they're already solid running backs. They've got a great quarterback who's really growing into what he's doing. They got Amon-Ra St. Brown from USC, who just killed it last year for them, who's their number 1 receiver now, plus some other solid guys. I just don't understand reaching for a running back in the first round. I don't see what they saw.
Well, I mean, in talking about, you know, interesting picks, we also have to go ahead and think about the fact of the matter that this season is a season of team rebuilds. Obviously, you know, the Lions, they've been rebuilding their team since last year. So they've
been rebuilding for 20 years.
Yeah, tell me about it. One team in particular, the Green Bay Packers. Now that Aaron Rodgers has gone to the Jets, this is a season of rebuild for the Packers right now. And they made a lot of interesting picks. Last night, they went ahead and they drafted Lucas Van Ness from Iowa. This kid is, you know, he's a pretty good, you know, player in the game. I mean, we also have today, we got a brand new wide receiver. We have from Michigan State, we have Jaden Reed. You know, I mean, this kid's got, you know, definitely a lot of, he was picked in the second round, pick number 50 in the second round. We also went ahead and picked up a tight end, Luke Musgrave. we picked it as well today. So today was more, I just feel that today was more along the lines of offense, that they decided to go ahead and bring in and pick in offense. Obviously, we need good wide receivers. We need a good offense right now that we don't have a quarterback. We don't have a real quarterback per se right now with the Packers. Nothing's been announced yet. So far, it seems that the Packers may be moving forward with Jordan Love. And with Jordan Love taking over the spot of Aaron Rodgers, that's a little bit nerve-wracking in my opinion. I think that the kid probably needed at least another 2 years riding the bench, really seeing what Rodgers was doing, but obviously that's not the case. He's going to have to step up now and really work with these new talents that are coming in. This is going to be a really tough season for the Packers, in my opinion. So, I mean, and Aaron Rodgers going to the Jets right now, what Aaron is looking at, he's looking at the Jets building the team around him as he was looking for the Packers to do the same. That's why he pretty much took the money that he did. And, you know, I mean, it's going to be tough for the Packers, in my opinion.
I agree with you completely. I hate to say it, but it kind of shows me that they don't have faith in Love.
I would agree with them though,
because honestly, I understand taking a player as strong as Lucas Van Ness. Lucas Van Ness is a very strong edge rusher, defensive end. But when you have a young quarterback who's going to be getting his first starting season, and you had 2 top offensive tackles or offensive guards still on the board when you're picking, I mean, 2 guys that some people were saying could have gone in the top 10. Let me see. That was Anton Harrison out of Oklahoma. And then also Broderick Jones, who was a beast at Georgia. I mean, why not pick up somebody to protect that young quarterback? You know, it's if you can't put points on the board and keep him healthy, it doesn't matter what your defense is doing. So to me, that just shows that they're not all in on him.
This is classic Packers, though. They did the same thing with Rodgers when Rodgers was playing. They always went ahead and chose defense, but never an O-line that protects their passer. And that's one of the biggest gripes that Rodgers, I believe, had with the Packers organization. It's like, you need to protect, dude. That's why he got injured so many times, because he didn't have anybody able to protect him. And they're doing the same thing. This is classic Packers. The Packers organization has the old school mentality that defense wins games. That's not so much the case anymore. The dynamic has changed with the NFL. Defense doesn't always win games anymore. Offense is starting to pick it up now.
It's rare that you see the old school teams who are just going to grind it out and rely on their defense to keep it close. That's just not the way the game is played anymore. I mean, the last team we really saw that was kind of close to that was the Tennessee Titans when they made the playoffs with Derrick Henry rushing for 2,000 yards that season.
And how long ago was that?
Well, then 4 years or something like that, you know. So again, you don't see that. It has moved away from that. I mean, having a great defense is wonderful. I mean, but ask the Bills how well that goes. They had one of the top 5 defenses every single year and still weren't making the playoffs until they got Josh Allen and they started building that offense around him. So you got to have both in today's day and age. It's not going to cut it the other way around. It's rare you get like that old school Baltimore team, the one that won the championship, won the Super Bowl with Trent Dilfer as the quarterback. They relied 100% on that defense and then just basically said, Trent, don't do anything that'll hurt us. And that's what he did. I mean, he was a great quarterback at just managing the game, and they relied on that defense to make turnovers and to hold people to no points. You just don't see that. It's moved away from that completely.
Oh yeah, no, and it's a sad thing to see, but unfortunately, they're not going to change. They're not going to change. They're going to continuously keep on making this mistake until hopefully someday they wake up and like, hey, maybe we should focus on our offense. How about that? So
I'm just going to say this. I don't understand general managers. You're gonna invest $100+ million into a quarterback. That's the going market, even for a mediocre quarterback. You know, an average to above average. They're getting $100 million contract. You're going to invest that in them, but you're not going to keep them safe. I will use Andrew Luck as the prime example. What the Indianapolis Colts did to him should have been criminal. There should have been charges against him. I mean, with all the injuries he got, ruptured spleen, punctured lung, all these different things. I mean, he was damn near killed multiple times because they wouldn't spend money to bring in a decent offensive line. Why are you going to invest in someone who is supposed to carry your organization and yet not protect them? It's absolutely insane to me. And any general manager that is doing that should be fired immediately.
Agreed. 100% agreed. And, we'll just have to see how this season plays out, because this is going to be a very interesting season. Again, Rodgers being with the Jets, that's going to be interesting to watch how Rodgers, the chemistry that he's going to have with that brand new team, and how well he's going to go ahead and play with them. We'll just have to wait and see what happens there. Honestly, again, as a Packers fan, I was a Rodgers fan, but you know what? In my opinion, Rodgers just became too big for his britches. And you know what? I'm happy he's gone. My opinion, I'm happy he's gone. I think this is a good opportunity for Green Bay to rebuild and hopefully maybe do something with their offense. We'll just have to wait and see this season and see what happens. Guys, that's the news in case you haven't heard it. Thank you so much for joining us here on the Navarro-Miller Report. Don't forget, Lakers versus Grizzlies is tonight. Man, they're killing me here with this whole... They only do this every year. It's like, come on, you can't just do a nice clean sweep. No, you had to keep us watching to make sure to see what happens. So
I'm sorry, they just don't look the part. They don't to me. I mean, LeBron's gotten a little too old. Davis's body is still breaking down. I don't see them even if they make it through this round and beat the Grizzlies, I don't see them getting out of the next round or making the finals. I just don't.
I'm over it. I can't do this anymore. Make sure you go ahead and watch it. Hopefully they'll make it to the next round of the playoffs. We'll just have to wait and see what happens. Thanks again, everybody, for watching us. As always, love you, audience, for being here in our stream and everything. Thanks again for joining us on our 50th episode. We'll make sure to come back again very soon. As always, we'll go ahead and we're trying to be consistent as much as possible, but unfortunately, scheduling conflicts between myself and this guy over here are always an issue. We hope everybody
mostly my bad.
Yeah, no, I'll take the blame for it too. Come on now. But we'll go ahead and make sure we'll try to be as consistent as possible. We always post when we're coming on. So thanks again for joining us here. And everybody have a wonderful weekend. I'm your host, Dave Navarro, along with this guy right here.
I'm Jeremy Miller.
We will definitely see you guys next time.
You have been listening to the Navarro-Miller Report.